Before getting into music and speaking a little bit about that, I wondered if you could tell me what happened last year at IDLES Barrowlands show.
I don't know, man. Basically, I mind walking home from my buds one time, and I was just listening to Divide and Conquer, and I was just walking home, and it's like I said, I'm mad, like an image in my head of me like just getting up and playing it, and like, aye man, I just go to my birthday make us a sign and just fucking just let loose. Aye, but it was easily the most mental experience of my life. I don't know if anything will ever top it, to be honest.
How did it impact your drive to create music after that?
Pretty heavily, man. Pretty heavily. I don't know. It was something like being up on a stage with people that you didn't really think you'd ever meet. You know what I mean? And especially when they're like kind of idols to you. You know what I mean, man? But it kind of made me realise that like that was what I really wanted to do. Especially, let's see, when I go up there and just seeing the crowd. Like the crowd was the thing that was like probably the most nuts thing to look at, just because it was just like pure sea of people, and it just felt amazing. You know what I mean?
Can you think of like any other instances in your life that have kind of fundamentally impacted your drive to create music?
Instances of my life?
Or events or experiences?
Can't think of it up my head right now. I'm trying to think, man. I mean, I've not actually played with idols in the bar, so I don't know any moments for me personally. I don't know, man. Probably just a big impact. You know, I'm wearing this t-shirt now, and it's probably kind of cliche, but getting into Nirvana with Tuts, man, that was a big moment. Like when we started listening to a lot of music together, when we started together, and just from that moment when we started like jamming, just me and him, you know, guitar and drums, it was just that was probably a big push as well, just being able to jam together for the first time properly.
Going back to like the first kind of few gigs, like those no doubt like at least 2 Nirvana covers in the set, you know what I mean? It's just like
definitely. Big Nirvana fans, man, honestly.
Do you go for the big hitters, or do you kind of go for a deep track?
We did go for the big hitters, but we definitely do. Well, I don't know about yourself, Jude, but I definitely know a lot of the catalogue of Nirvana stuff. I've listened to a lot of it, but I definitely don't listen to the way I used to. It's kind of, even though I'm wearing this t-shirt, but man, it's one of the ones, yeah.
How old were you when you were sitting there, about, you know, you're in a room together jamming and kind of figuring stuff out?
Must have been 15, 16, and you would have been 14
I'd have been like 14, 13 maybe. But I would just through like school in that way, we kind of met, like I knew Kev like from outside of school, then I started going to the same school, then we just kind of started interacting more, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first time you were in a room together and it kind of all clicked into place and you felt it like?
Probably that night I first came up to State Yours, man. We played Gary's Mod. That was that was the first time we clicked as pals. As for music, I don't know. I think it was one night. I think you were playing drums by this point, and I don't know. I think
I started playing drums a wee bit before you started playing guitar.
I didn't want to play guitar. I don't know. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think one night I just picked that up because I was in a bad mood in his house, and his mum showed us a few chords, and I think we just started jamming from that point on. That was it, man.
How has making music kind of most impacted your dynamic as friends?
I just think it's made us realise what we would be most happy doing together. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the short of it.
It's definitely made us like kind of bond more over the idea of like spending time and writing music together, and like lyrics and thinking deep in that about things, and just I think it just enables us to share more about ourselves together through another telling.
When it comes to the 2 tracks that you've released as well, Hotel and Till Death, they kind of cover a few different styles. There's kind of some different things going on there emotionally, at least. Hotel's kind of this, you know, this fast, ferocious type thing, and then Till Death kind of has the slower moments in it. Do you approach those moments differently in the studio when you're trying to record them?
I guess kind of, man. Recently we've been trying to experiment a wee bit recently. Not really experiment, but just kind of rework our whole sound. I guess recently, just try to. I don't know, man.
Just kind of rework our image and our sound, because we do love the tracks, but we definitely don't feel it represents us as a band as a whole. And as for like the way that the two songs sound, like Hotel is a very ferocious, and Till Death is you kind of got the moments of quietness. We're definitely going to keep elements of that moving on into the new ventures and that as a band. But we just try and mix it up as much as we can, and just try and keep it different each song, so it's not the same stuff all the time.
How would you describe the side of the band we haven't heard yet then in the recorded music? It was kind of evolving and changing a lot at the moment.
Definitely a lot more.
I'd say a bit more, maybe a bit more raw, I guess.
Aye, a lot more raw. A lot more experimental in the sense that we don't just try and stick to 4-chord punk music. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. It's just I definitely feel we could stretch our legs a wee bit, expand a wee bit more differently. It's definitely varying. There's like some soft songs, even softer than Till Death, and then there's some very ferocious songs, even more ferocious than Hotel. I'd say. There's just a mix between.
Which of those impacts you most emotionally? The kind of slower ones or the ferocious ones?
In a live setting, and like playing them live, definitely the kind of faster, more upbeat ones, man. But I like soft music just as much as I like hard music as well, and I don't know, it's just a different listening experience, Like with the fast songs, you can really get a gig going whenever
get the
next
going.
gig we can do is, but
Do you think a lot when you're performing live then about where you kind of deploy them in the set and where you're going to put the slow ones away?
Yeah, definitely, man. Dynamics and a set is, I think, very important to a band's success or just even a live show in general. Definitely.
What's the most important lesson you've learned that kind of informs the set list in that way with the dynamics?
One time I tried to ask the audience for a mosh pit, and I learned my lesson that you can't ask the audience for a mosh pit. I think there was a few times as well where we just kind of jumbled them up, and there was no.
It kind of feels weird when you play it,
There's no momentum building in the crowd. I felt that there was no energy from the crowd, and then once we kind of reorganised our set to be more we'll start energy, we'll build it down, and we'll bring it back up, and that we definitely seen a change in our audience and our participation.
Definitely. Man.
Do you remember your first mosh pit then with what you seen?
The first mad gig we probably had was the Hotel launch at Stereo.
Aye.
That was probably still to this day one of the maddest gigs we've had, because we just did not expect it at all. You know what I mean?
Definitely one of my favourites. Another one was King Tuts just before coronavirus happened in January, and we played the King Tuts New Year's Revolution, and I went in one of the very first songs. I went into the crowd with the mic, and it was moshing, but I didn't realise how long the mic was, and I ended up wrapping the mic around people's throats by accident. I'm trying to get it off them. It was fun, but it was a good laugh, good energy.
I would say they two gigs probably stand for the most kind of
energetic and fun. Definitely, man. They were brilliant.
When it comes to the latter of those two gigs, King Tuts is part of that, the kind of history of that venue bleeding into it that creates that atmosphere.
I guess so, man. I guess so.
There's definitely a big build to playing on King Tuts stations, isn't there?
Yeah. I think just knowing that night was just a really good night with the bands that were playing in general, but I think just knowing that King Tuts, that stage is so kind of legendary, you know what I mean? It was kind of, it was really cool to be able to play on it and actually play a good gig, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so venue can be one thing that kind of impacts your headspace and the atmosphere of a show a little bit. What are some of the other things for you that kind of impact your headspace going into a gig?
Personally for me, I always snap strings on my guitar when I'm playing, so I'm always thinking, please don't snap a string tonight. That kind of impacts my nerves. I always just pray that things don't go wrong, but I always hate when because I don't know if it's because I just can't afford new leads and that, but my stuff always breaks on stage, and I'm like, I just can't do anything. It's like I just always go and say a wee prayer before it, hope that nothing breaks.
Yeah, a big thing for me getting into a gigs is my hands get cold super easy, so there's been gigs where I've just went up and it's we're starting the set and my hands are freezing, and it's almost like I'm holding the sticks with my bones, and it's just every hit kind of hurts a wee bit, but I'm learning ways to counteract that, I guess.
Do you still get stage fright, or are you kind of moving past that a wee bit?
I still, before King Tuts, and then I think we played with Tuts in February beforehand. Both times I did get a wee bit of stomach, kind of butterflies, because I think it's just the idea of whether we're playing to 2 people we're playing to like, I think the most I've ever played is maybe just 100 in like a launch gig. It's
Yeah.
like, nonetheless, it's like, I want to like, you know, bring entertainment, and I think that's the aspect that makes me nervous. It's like, oh, can I be as best I can be tonight?
Yeah.
I'm not going to always be best, but you know, I shouldn't even really think about that. But they get nerves.
I feel like for like most people, it's like you'll be more nervous playing a gig to like 8 people than like 100 people.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I
Definitely.
think that's the only time where I'm maybe a wee bit nervous, but but try and persevere through it.
What do you want to be remembered for with your music, most of all?
I would love to be just remembered for like great gigs, you know, just like
Good
really
gigs.
really high energy gigs, and just like you know,
Good music.
gigs that people can remember. Good music, definitely. I think that's probably the most important thing, is that, you know, our music can just be remembered by people who can relate to it and understand what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much, guys.
No worries, man. Thank you.